T-posing NPCs. Overpriced cosmetic outfits. Constant disconnects. Perfectly polished microtransactions in a broken game. Twitch viewer collapse. Roadmaps. Early post-launch discounts. A no refunds policy. Broken promises. Massive entertainment. Anything Fallout 76 can do, The Division can do, only with much better PR. Before we grab our knife and fork and tuck into the visually appealing and superficially appetising shit pie that is the Division 2 live service fraud, I need to qualify one important point. There is no way my coverage of the Division 2 can ever be comprehensive. The other day it occurred to me that there are so many bugs and issues with this game, all in a state of flux, with new ones appearing with each patch. Some are promised to be fixed, some are not fixed, a few are getting fixed, and some of the fixes are staying fixed, and some of the bugs are popping back up like gophers the second other problems get fixed. And on top of all of this, the bugs and problems are not necessarily across all platforms. Think clown's car. No, think 3 clown's cars driving in convoy. Then it occurred to me that the only way I can cover this game accurately is if I compile a database of bugs and known issues across PC, Xbox and PS4 and track their current status of broken, fixed or promised to be fixed in the future and track it all in real time. Then I sat there and thought, fuck that. If this game has so many bugs you need a fucking database to track what's going on, then I personally think it should be sufficient to just generalise about how fucked the entire game is and focus on specific important topics as and when they take priority. Besides, what the fuck should I compile that database? If Massive wasn't so fucking busy deleting entries off the known issues list, they'd have a comprehensive database themselves for everyone to read. But of course, they don't want the public seeing the full extent of this mess. For the sake of simplification, let's just describe the state of the Division 2 right now as this. It's a goddamned live service Greek tragedy, where you run around a beautifully designed open world environment doing repetitive tasks for rewards that are usually pointless, and gear that is nearly always worthless, with game mechanics that have an entire database worth of broken arseness, and it's already got very boring. This is now a full-blown Destiny 2 scenario. Take away a finished game, sell back a half game. Everyone sits there wondering why someone would be that fucking stupid, then realise profits. The only difference is you don't see any generalised uproar because the PR operation is keeping all channels on lockdown. If you think I'm full of shit, and you think that everything is going well and it's all unicorns and cotton fucking candy, then just consider this. Most of the players have already fucked off to other games. Whatever you think about my interpretation of the evidence, one fact remains crystal fucking clear. The players are voting with their feet. The game is a fucking ghost town. And I'm talking Fallout 76 levels of Ghost Town here. So if you love the Division 2 and you're having a great time, then good for you. Good for you, and good for the other few thousand people still playing in your region. So to move on to the current state of the game, yeah, there is a full-blown player collapse underway. Not even taking the game off of Steam can hide that data. Anyone who runs a clan will see their players have vanished. Twitch viewership has collapsed. The Division 2 dropped well out of the top 50 games on the Twitch charts. It's doing worse than games like chess, I shit you not, Destiny fucking 2, and even ASMR channels. Some Japanese student making itchy scratchy noises. In fact, if it wasn't for a group of fucking small Korean channels and one dude who I think is being paid to play it, the Division 2 would crash out of the charts completely. I'm sure the broken gear game is contributing to this. Personally, I don't see much point in going through the motions at the moment when loot rewards are mostly shitty and loot drops are almost universally low-level trash. The player power fantasy of the Division is starting to feel like one of those ladies that sorts through all the jumble at a charity shop, trying to find that one item that's not so shitty it gets thrown in the rubbish bin. On top of all of this, I'm not so eager to invest time gearing up when from one fucking minute to the next they're nerfing and buffing gear and can't even settle on a max gear level. The Gear Level 515 reveal on State of the Game a few weeks ago spoke volumes about the discontent, chaos and conflict in the house of Ubisoft. Terry Potter, head of breaking PvP at Redstorm, dropped the bombshell. Or more precisely, he made Ryan von Liebscher, head of Nazi weapon design, drop his bombshell for him. Hamish Bode was visually shocked. It was very clear that this was not an approved decision. Announcing it was not agreed. Massive knew nothing about it. Terry knew he was being a very, very naughty wizard indeed, and decided to drop a big fucking steamer on the already messy situation, like a huge fuck you to Massive Entertainment. These few seconds of footage spoke volumes about the current turmoil within the game management, desperation, snipe politics, and possibly fucking sabotage. Needless to say, off camera, the 515 gear score announcement has been quietly retracted. In another sinister turn, it's come to light that many players are now reporting persistent problems with their PCs since installing the game, and the patches to fix it are making it worse. Personally, I almost lost my CPU after some runaway process thrashed my PC at 100% for 6 hours on the night the game officially launched. I'm talking 100% use across the board, even after relogging with the game shut down. Thanks to my slightly worn out cooling system, I literally almost cooked off my fucking CPU. Like many players, I've suffered persistent shutdowns and crashes since installing the game, and now it comes to light that Ubisoft put an explicit disclaimer in their end-user license agreement absolving themselves from damage to users' equipment. This is the faith Ubisoft has in its product. Its user agreement takes the time to specify that the software is accepted as is, and if it bricks your PC or console, they are not liable, not even for a fucking refund. They damn well knew this software was balked from the outset. The third major patch literally went live as I was recording this. I think for propaganda control reasons, they're now no longer calling them patches. They're calling them title updates. Well, I can rename dog shit as Happy Fun Time Children's Play-Doh. But you still wouldn't want to get it in your eyes. So Massive can refer to patches as title updates and cosmetic microtransactions as apparel collections. But it's still all collectively dog shit. As for the incoming changes and fixes, I'm not going to say much for now. Talk is cheap and getting cheaper by the day. Let's see what actually makes the cut and what actually works after the patch has bedded in for a week. Until then, it's all bullshit and roadmaps as far as I'm concerned. Let's face it, this patch won't work properly until they've patched it. Because in the Division 2, even the fucking patches need several fucking patches to work semi-functionally. Well, I'm not going to say much about the Mega Bug Fix Patch 3 for now. We should let it bed in for a week, let them patch the patch a few times, and in a week or so we can evaluate just how badly it failed, and what they forgot to include. But for now, I'll just make the following observations based on forum feedback and what complaints slipped past the subreddit censorship quarantine. Matchmaking in the game is broken in some regions and some platforms. Masks and some other cosmetic items don't fit properly anymore. The servers are chronically fucked and giving Delta and Mike errors. They nerfed the fucking crap out of lots of content, so most of it's all now easy mode. They also nerfed a lot of builds, just to force people to grind again. They scrapped a bunch of achievements that required consecutive days play because they couldn't make them work. Bittersweet news to the people who repeatedly attempted to complete them. I can smell the salt in your river of tears. Most of the broken stuff is still broken. There is now an end of mission score breakdown, so I will now be able to bask in the full statistical glory of my shitness. Sadly though, matchmaking for raids is not going to be delivered as promised in the sales literature. For most people in the community, this is more than just a disappointment. This is an act of betrayal and a dick punch for the solo PvE player. You may have heard something about this, because the community is basically, well, rioting. For many solo and non-clan players, they're now fucked, essentially locked out of raids. People are furious, and judging by the downvotes on the state of the game for the 15th of May, people are very, very pissed off. Hamish kindly suggested people use the official Discord to hook up with other players because it's inherently social. I guess Hamish has confused the phrase inherently social with Black Mirror, because last time I checked, saying anything remotely negative about the game on the Discord got you a life ban. It's friendly, in the same way a Nazi dinner party is friendly. I'm sure everyone is positively charming, right up until the moment you bust out your kipper and start criticising the Holocaust. I will no doubt report back on the current uproar over massive failing to deliver raid matchmaking as promised, but for now the TLDR is fairly simple. They promised it in the advertising. They decided to scrap it because of sad face problems, and it was complicated. They went on State of the Game and lied about it. The community lost its fucking shit. Finally. Massive is getting its videos downvoted. Everyone feels rightfully betrayed because, well, they got lied to. Again. The State of the Game on the 15th of May was fucking hysterical in retrospect. Hamish Bode, Reich's Minister of Propaganda at Massive Entertainment, and Yannick Bonchereau, king of the pedo vendors, basically told the community that there was no matchmaking for raids. Then jibber-jabbered about microtransactions and the new pedo caches, and started humble bragging about the classified assignments, like that was some kind of substitute for the so far non-fucking existent Year 1 DLC pass content and the missing fucking episodes. I mean, really, it was fucking brilliant. They got up in front of the cameras, told everyone waiting for the raids to eat a bag of dicks, try and pass off 7 shitty little 2-minute missions as actual fucking substantive legitimate content, and then they have the fucking audacity to start peddling more microtransactions and pedo caches. I would be angry if it wasn't so fucking funny. What a pair of fucking shameless shitehawks. Fuck me, I'm surprised they don't get jobs as pharmaceutical reps. Oh yeah, and then Hamish started e-begging for some free Sennheiser microphones. Pathetic. They have all our money, they ain't delivering the stuff they promised like matchmaking, and on top of all of that, they are begging for free high-end microphones. Seriously guys, show some fucking self-respect. So the breaking propaganda news is that the Division 2 subreddit has become an even bigger Kafkaesque mindfuck. For those of you who read it regularly, you will have noticed that the subreddit was recently transformed almost overnight. One minute, it was a place full of pissed off players complaining about broken promises and still broken game issues, and the next, it was a happy place, where posts about cosplay would get 7k upvotes in an hour, gifted gold, and nearly all complaints were gone. Okay, it's done another 180 and reverted back to the prison canteen riot since they announced Raid MM had been scrapped, but you get the idea. Incidentally, the Reddit purge occurred the day after they introduced a new set of draconian censorship rules. Sorry, yet another set of draconian censorship rules. Basically, it appears someone at Massive told the subreddit that they needed to clean up their act or else. So they rolled out even more fucking insane censorship rules, then set to work astroturfing the whole subreddit and censoring complaints about the game. The most Kafkaesque rule is the new one where you can be banned for naming public figures, because this rule conflicts with existing censorship rules. Let me elaborate. I'm going to be very careful here and only employ hypothetical examples using a fictitious name so nobody gets upset or claims they're being treated unfairly. Not that fairness is a concept that the subreddit seems to comprehend, but anyways, I'm going to be mature about this and use only hypothetical examples. If, for example, you say, the subreddit moderator called Mr. Free Ubisoft Holiday in Las Vegas censored my post, you can be banned for naming that hypothetical moderator that received 2 free holidays from Ubisoft. Hypothetically. But if you don't mention any specific name and instead, for example, say, a subreddit moderator censored my post, you can be banned for not naming them. Because according to the rules, by not naming them, you are starting a witch hunt. For the head moderator that received 2 free holidays from Ubisoft amongst other gifts and inducements. Hypothetically, of course. And I'm not even kidding, I've been on the wrong end of this bullshit myself, because I mentioned something and decided not to name the offender. I was literally accused of starting a witch hunt. That is now your subreddit. If you name someone, you can get banned for naming them. But if you don't name someone, you can get banned for starting a witch hunt. Kafka as all fuck. Fucked if you do, fucked if you don't. Massive told them to clean up the subreddit, and it's become an even more bizarre Orwellian nightmare. It's noteworthy that despite being called a liar by the ever so polite mods on the subreddit, the following was pointed out to me by a helpful player yesterday. Massive has stopped including the subreddit in its public announcements, and is only pointing towards the official forums for the time being. I'll let you decide if this is all just one giant coincidence or not. Hypothetically, of course. So what is the good news? Well, I haven't seen any Nazi guns appear in the Division 2 yet. We know they are definitely in the pipeline, but it's comforting to know that they are at least hiding the Lugers from me for the time being. I'm also pleased to report that a lot of die-hard Division players are really enjoying themselves at the moment. Yeah, it's a bit sad they're playing other games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Mordau and Rage 2. But hey, as long as they're having fun, right? It's also nice to hear that a lot of players are getting back into PvP again. In the Division 1. Yep, you heard that right. Players have started to gradually migrate back to the Division 1 DZ, because apparently that broken mess feels like fucking utopia compared to Washington DC. The other good news is that the pedo cache algorithms are working perfectly. I got all but one item of the outfits in the first timed event, and then the algorithm started finger banging me, giving me every single fucking item that was not the one last item I needed to complete the set. This happened until the event was over, leaving me one item short, so I'd have to spend money to complete the set. Thankfully, my self-respect is also working as intended too, so I'm fucked if I'm spending a penny on pedo caches. Still, if you are listening, Matt Higby, your legacy lives on. I was also encouraged to note that someone might have come up with a fix that reduces graphical stuttering in-game by using third-party software to clear down the memory standby list, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah, a AAA video game where most of the reviews said it was virtually bug-free, yet requires some players to install third-party software to run without graphical problems. Wow. With my happy face on, I can at least announce that apparently my get the fuck out of my foxhole perk has been implemented. Once again, my little guardian developer is watching over me. Sir, madam, or other, I thank you. At least now I can enjoy capping control points in peace, whilst I ruminate on the fact that I won't be able to access the raid exclusive content, because Massive lied to us all. As per fucking usual. Raids are going live as I record this. Let's face reality here. What are the actual chances that they're going to work at launch? I'll place my bets right now and predict that they will be functional, with some critical bugs, defective loot drops, and with at least one bug that denies players their loot on completion. Or some door won't open. Let's see how my predictions pan out. So who is most to blame for the current shitfest? Well, some people have suggested that the following people are to blame, and in this order: the frontline developers, Massive, Ubisoft. But is this really fair? Well, a friend of mine made an interesting observation when he pointed me in the direction of some fucktard screeching at someone on the subreddit. You know the drill, some dude fangirling the Division, saying how he did not experience any bugs, he didn't experience any problems, and the entire game worked perfectly for him. I don't know whether the account was real, a Ubisoft smurf, or one of the many shady sock puppet accounts used by the PR machine. At this point, I'm not sure which is worse, to be fucking honest. But the point was, how the fuck can anyone sensibly claim the game is working perfectly and bug-free? I mean, Massive has admitted that there are performance issues, the loot algorithms are fucked, the terrain modelling is fucked, the balancing is fucked, and we know this is true because Massive is openly talking about fixing it. A lot of influencers, content creators, and professional e-beggars got paid off to shill this game, and a lot of the community allowed themselves to be mugged off. They even helped mug off other people. Massive knew it could exploit the situation and seize the opportunity. Ubisoft let them. The ground level developers are pretty much the only people not to blame. They did some great design work. Sure, some of them clearly didn't understand some of the core game mechanics, or test their fucking work as they went along, or play the fucking game for that matter. But overall, I think the developers working on the game are the only people absolved from blame, and some of the work done by Ubisoft Leamington and Ubisoft Reflections was, as always, solid. Remember those guys? The Year 2 content that everyone thinks Redstorm did? Yeah, those guys. The ones who did great work and never seem to get the credit they deserve. So, with this in mind, let's revisit this list again. The developers, Massive, Ubisoft, in that order? This is going to stick in some people's throats, but here's my blame list. The community, and shilling content creators, and influencers. Massive. Ubisoft. I'm not going to win any friends for saying this, but as a community, we got exactly the game we deserved. Absolute acknowledgement and respect to the few lone voices that called it and complained about the bullshit, the vacuous hype and the shilling. But the harsh reality is that a lot of the community was either paid off, mugged off, or helping to mug other people off. As a community, we created the perfect environment for Massive to roll out a completely unfinished, broken piece of shit and maintain the lie until they had hoovered up all the cash. A vast swathe of content creators took payoffs and inducements to make blindly obsequious and servile advertising pieces on this game, lying about the bugs and shitty state of the game. Seriously, now we have experienced the dire condition of this product, go back right now and watch some of the suck-up Division 2 reviews, and remember they were talking about the game just prior to or at launch, when it was in an even worse state than it is now. Our subreddit is run by a gaggle of Ubisoft hand servants, censoring critical posts, doing the bidding of the community development team. The Division 2 Discord is even fucking worse. One of the most shocking reports I received about the official Discord was of a player politely complaining that there was not enough free cosmetic items in the game. Just before his comment was deleted and he was life banned, the moderator told him to, and I quote, "Get a better fucking paid job if you can't afford microtransactions." And then the player was banned and fucked off into the digital void. And all the while, half the community was so overcome with hype and so uncritical of the bullshit they were being spoon-fed, they not only gulped it down, they grabbed a spoon and shoveled the same bullshit down the throats of the players around them. This fucking community didn't just get robbed. It helped the fucking bank robbers carry the bags of cash out of the bank. So yeah, we got a half-broken mess of a game, and it's what we deserve. Perhaps this hard lesson had to play out, so it won't happen again. It speaks volumes that people are still making aggressive posts on the subreddit and forums telling people reporting bugs to shut the fuck up with their complaints, because apparently there are no bugs, even though the exact same fucking bugs are on the known bugs list. And that list is admittedly as censored as fuck. It's hilarious that people are labelling everyone who complains as toxic. But who is really being toxic in this equation? I'd say the most toxic people are the shitbags who sold out their community for channel promotion and facilitated this corporate piss take. The people banning people on Discord and censoring the subreddit are toxic. The fanboys screeching at people reporting problems, I'm pretty sure they're toxic too. The people with the common sense to see through the bullshit and try and demand the best possible product are not toxic. They are sensible consumers. If people had listened to this so-called toxic element, we wouldn't be in this position right now. My only motivation is to try and exert pressure on Ubisoft to make this the best possible IP it can be for them and the best possible product it should be for us. I'm sure not every reviewer and content creator is some self-aware shitbag. Some are. But deep down, they're smart enough to know that their cosy relationship with Massive corrupts and self-censors their message. Or they're just fucking lying because money. But how the fuck did so many people review this game and not warn the gaming community about the full extent of the problems? How the fuck could anyone with half a cunting brain cell review The Division 2 and not notice the overwhelming amount of issues? It's a fucking car crash! Corporations will always spend the least amount possible and take the biggest risks acceptable whilst making the biggest profit available. And shady YouTubers, bent game journalists and quasi-religious fanboys created an environment where they would do this to a spectacular degree. They created an environment so ripe for exploiting, Massive thought it could get away with rolling out The Division 2 perhaps a fucking year before it was close to ready. And the game is not even at the beta stage, and they already have our fucking money and are scaling back year one content. Yeah, I said it. There is a bigger picture here. Social media influencers, YouTubers, Twitch streamers and online news is the new mainstream press. It is to us what television was for the last generation, and in its current state, instead of educating, informing and entertaining us, it's being groomed by corporations to be one giant, unaccountable advertising machine. A giant fucking bullshit factory run by suits and operated by shills. I cover these issues in gaming, but it goes beyond this industry. The internet is in grave danger of becoming entirely taken over by corporate interests. This is where we get all our news, our consumer advice, and most importantly, have our only real accessible platform for protest and complaint. And bit by bit, it's being turned into one giant digital advertising platform. A giant fucking digital shop. All this being said, credit needs to go to the few content creators who did have the guts to stand up and be vocal about the problems of the game. I mean, fuck, I fucking complain about everything. But these guys were fans of the game, invested in it, and they came from a position of genuine concern about where the game was heading. At best, they got very little thanks for taking a principled stand. Some of them took a lot of shit for it. We also need to give credit to the many players within the community who have been vocal about this shit show. All the thanks they probably received was grief and some bans on Discord and the subreddit. The Division 2 is currently in a state of collapse, and this makes me sad. This is a story about what happens when a video game publisher wins and dominates the public relations war and clamps complete control over every medium where people can complain. They can roll out a broken game, take all the money, and there is no outrage. It's Anthem under a media blackout. I mean, where the fuck are the big gaming news channels? Why the fuck aren't the big channels covering the player collapse or the fact that they still haven't successfully finished the base game and it's fucking May? And saddest of all is that this would not have been possible without the express collusion of precisely the people who pretend to be looking out for the community and a whole lot of willing victims to boot. I personally lost a lot of respect for a few content creators who I thought were above this shit. They made videos saying how fucking great this game was and played down the bugs, forgot to mention half the game was missing or unfinished, and they did a sales job. And I don't believe for a second they didn't benefit personally from that situation. People keep drawing comparisons with the Division 1. Launch the game broken with a massive PR operation, spend years lying to the players about working on it whilst hoovering up the money. Then finally admit defeat and announce a sequel and tell everyone you learned from your mistakes. Next time you will get it right. The Division 2 launches and precisely the same shit is happening all over again. But the real point here is that I'm starting to suspect they didn't fuck this up. I think this was the plan all along. This is the business model. This is only a failure for the players. This is a fucking victory for the shareholder. This is not massive screwing up. This is the plan. And anyone who's been helping them get away with it should be fucking ashamed of themselves. When are people going to learn that Ubisoft only delivers when people are angry, shouting and fucking demanding they stick to their promises? When are people going to get the fucking memo that Ubisoft always takes the fucking piss if it can get away with it? If the players don't demand what they are promised in the advertising, they are not going to get it. Well, this community has got precisely the game that it deserves. The irony is that many of the content creators who cover this game helped make it such a mess by fangirling, when they should have been telling Ubisoft to fix the problems. Whilst trying to suck up to Massive, they actually ended up contributing to the demise of the very game their channels relied on. They got short-term profit in exchange for the decline of the game they needed to succeed. Possibly the most important question I can pose to Ubisoft, Massive Studios and the fanboys right now is this: how many developers are already working on the Division 3? But for now, good luck and happy hunting.